I Saw the TV Glow is the latest film from filmmaker Jane Schoenberg. I think that is how you say their name. They directed We're All Going to the World's Fair back in 2022, I believe. And I was a big fan of that movie. If you guys remember my review for it, it ended up in my top 10 for that year. I was a big fan of what they were doing on that original movie. I think they have a very specific style and a very specific way of relating to a lot of people specifically around my age. I think they are one of the only filmmakers who have actually made a movie surrounding the internet and it actually paying off and feeling like it was authentic and not made by some, I don't know, 45-year-old completely out of touch billionaire, or millionaire I should say. So anyway, rant aside, We're All Going to the World's Fair I think showed so much promise and so much talent and made a lot of people angry because it was slow and it was, not, a lot of people were expecting it to be a horror movie, which it was very clearly not. And then earlier this year, maybe even late last year, we got a trailer for I Saw the TV Glow, and I got very excited because it looked like Jane was going to hit their, not their peak, but like what their full potential could be. I saw a lot of that in We're All Going to the World's Fair, but it was very small. It was, much smaller of a scale. You could definitely tell they wanted to branch out into higher concepts visually, higher concepts thematically, stuff like that they just weren't able to do because of the budget. And I think that this movie was going to finally showcase all of their talents because of that budget. So, I want you guys to go into this movie not with the expectations that it's going to be a horror movie. There are very disturbing scenes in this film. There are moments that really get under your skin, especially the more you think about it. However, it is not a traditional horror movie. It is not kind of what you were even expecting from the trailer. I kind of hate that A24 does this sometimes because it can work on occasion, but it can also really work in a movie's downfall. Like, a lot of the times they will put out a trailer that is completely one thing, and then the movie does, a very different thing. And they do that a lot. It happened with It Comes at Night. It happened with Hereditary. It happened with Midsommar. All of Ari Aster's movies they do that for some reason. I'm trying to think if there's any other examples. Kind of a little bit with the Iron Claw, honestly. They purposefully are really good at marketing and know how to get people into the theater. And, a lot of these more mainstream, more, I don't know, not as interested in the art of movies, go to see these and say, oh, they suck, this is the worst movie I've ever seen, I didn't understand a single second of it, why was it not what I wanted from it? And that kind of attitude has grown a lot in the past couple of years. And I bring this up specifically because this, I can see it already. I am so, I don't know, I'm having like a vision of the future of people shitting on this movie because they didn't understand it, because it wasn't the movie that was promised in the trailer. And that is so frustrating because I Saw the TV Glow is yet another huge step forward for Jane Schoenberg and is one of the most important movies we have gotten from A24 in a really long time. I think that I Saw the TV Glow is honestly a masterpiece. Is it perfect? No. I have a couple of gripes with it that I will get into later, but I genuinely think that this is such a groundbreaking and original, and important movie that we're going to look back on this in like 10, 20, even 30 years later and say, that was a landmark movie. That was super influential, stuff like that. So I want to talk about the obvious influences at first here, because they're not like obvious influences, but they're you know, like ripping people off. But there are some very great homages, and you can sense other styles in there. Specifically, Greg Araki, is that how you say it? Araki? I don't know. The guy who directed Mysterious Skin, The Doom Generation, Smiley Face, and specifically Mysterious Skin. This movie is very similar to that film, just with incredibly different subject matter, obviously. But it deals with trauma the same way. It has a very similar soundtrack and uses its soundtrack and score the same way. It's very, not dry tone, but very cold and distant and kind of ethereal tone. Is kept as well. The relationship between the main characters, escaping a part of yourself that you know is there through a delusion of sorts. That's all there. And again, the movie utilizes it in a very different way, but that influence is very strong. And I think that it was a very good decision by Jane to pull from that kind of movie, because it made I Saw the TV Glow such a more interesting and deep movie than I think it would have been if not for those kinds of influences. I thought both of these central performances were great. I think that the main guy, I have some gripes with his performance. I think the voice that he does throughout gets increasingly more, I don't want to say fake, but kind of forced. It feels like he found a voice when they were shooting the earlier scenes, and it kind of got like lost, or maybe his he had too much vocal fry, some bullshit like that. I don't know, but he just felt kind of, I don't know, it was distracting at times, and it felt fake. It felt forced, and I noticed it was like that. But he was good. He conveyed what we were supposed to being conveyed in the movie. I don't think he's like that strong of an actor. I've obviously seen him in other stuff like Detective Pikachu and Dungeons of Dragons, and obviously it's a very different movie for him. And I don't know if he handled the weight of the subject matter and the writing as well as some other actors could have. The actress who plays his best friend, however, I thought she was perfect. I think she really nailed down this kind of more distant, delusional character. I felt like she really, really worked for this movie. The main crux of why I love I Saw the TV Glow so much is its visual flair. This movie is gorgeous, and I mean it is gorgeous in a way that is groundbreaking. There are shots and sequences in this movie that I completely believe have never been done before. There are moments in this film that get so under your skin and are so unsettling. This movie is just so well directed and has such a unique perspective on cinematography and the way that your movie is supposed to look like, and the visual personality of your film that is honestly groundbreaking. Like, it is going to be influential to so many younger filmmakers who see this movie, and so many people that can get on this movie's level. It is so important and impactful in that way, and it's just gorgeous. There are some shots in this movie that I just have been replaying in my head over and over and over again after I saw it on Thursday. It's a movie that is going to just burn its images into your mind and never let go. Specifically with there was a shot in a high school set to a Caroline Polachek song that I think is one of the best sequences in cinema that we've gotten this year so far. There is a scene with a parachute like you used to do in gym class. Those of you who've seen the movie will know what I'm talking about. There's a scene where he's watching TV, and it's a creepier scene. I don't want to give it away because it's a very pivotal moment in the film. But the scene in the trailer where he's getting pulled out of the TV, it's just, there's so many moments like that I wish I could just sit and stare at for hours and study them, because they're just so good. Something that a lot of people are going to mention about this movie, and that I definitely agree with, is the soundtrack and score. The entire score was done by musician Alex G, who also made all of the original music for We Are All Going to the World's Fair. I think that him and Jane Schoenberg have a very good relationship. And he adds such a flair to this movie that, again, it draws a lot from Mysterious Skin and the more shoegazy, drawn-out guitar, and using a lot of reverb and stuff like that. But I think specifically what he does in this movie is creates a sense of nostalgia during the first half, and then creates such a distinct, I hate to keep saying that word, but like such a ubiquitous feeling of dread. Not ubiquitous, such a unubiquitous, I should say, feeling of dread and terror throughout the last part of the movie. So I just, full props to him, full props to all of the soundtrack. It is perfect. I think it matches the tone super well with this movie. It's filled with a lot of, stars of our generation and a lot of people popular with my age. So it fits very well with the tone of the movie. Digging more into the kind of the themes and the bigger meaning of this movie, I don't want to get too much into it because, again, I can't spoil anything. I might honestly make a spoiler video because I have a lot to say about this movie's themes and metaphors, but it is a allegory for a couple of different things that are very pertinent to today's youth and what issues they're facing today, specifically with trans people. I think a lot of trans people are going to connect to this movie and really see it as a voice for them, and I think that's really awesome, and I think that not a lot of movies are doing that, especially ones that are getting distributed by as popular of a company as A24 and being put in a lot of theaters. Like, this is getting a major release, and I think that getting that kind of voice out there is very important, and also what makes this movie stick out amongst the crowd, I should say. It also talks a lot about mental health. It talks a lot about suicide. It talks a lot about parental issues. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and I think it's all woven into the story very, very well. I think that this movie is handled with a lot of care. I think it's written especially with a lot of care. I think that it takes its time very purposefully to kind of let you soak up what's happening without ever directly telling you what's going on. And I think that is Schoenberg's kind of motif now. Like, I think they very much are going through that's their style. Like, I am having trouble speaking here, but that's kind of their style with these movies, is showing you and really not wanting to tell you anything. And I think that it works. It honestly really works. It's unsettling. It's moving. It's such a beautiful movie, and I am very glad that it's getting as big of a push as it is. I have a few gripes with it, though. I think there is a couple moments that are a little corny. There's a moment with Phoebe Bridgers that I think is just so out of left field and so, like, it knew what it was doing. Like, it was like, oh, look, Phoebe Bridgers is in this movie. Yeah, we gotta do this, yay. And kind of gives her own moment and like a almost like a Marvel fan reveal, like waiting for applause. I thought that was super out of touch with the rest of the movie and felt like something that the studio was pushing. And there are like little moments like that where I'm like, that was just made for the trailer, or like that felt out of context. It's cool, but like in the context of the movie, it doesn't fit well, if that makes sense. So yeah, those, like, they're nitpicks, yes, but they were still there and held the movie back from being like a stone cold, like, this is my favorite movie of the year, this is incredible, But I still do think this is one of the most important movies we've gotten in a really long time. I think it's one of the best of the decade so far. It's definitely up there for my favorite of the year. It's up there with like Civil War. It's better than Civil War, and it's up there with Dune 2, we'll say. Anyway, that is my thoughts on I Saw the TV Glow. I'm going to give it a very strong A. Thank you so much for watching this. I'm trying out my new camera once more, so again, please forgive me if the footage is maybe a little out of focus during some parts of the review, or there's some choppy moments. I'm still working this out, but other than that, I had nothing else to say, and I will see you guys in the next review. Thank you so much for watching.